Now that we've seen how easy it is to add additional forms to your projects, we now need to discuss the various methods and events that are associated with forms. So once again, I will create a project with a second form, and it'll just be a standard Windows form, and I'll just leave the default names, in this case Form 2. So here you see my main form, or Form 1, and then Form 2 is now ready to be addressed. Of course, if you change the name of the forms, you would need to reflect that in your code. I need a point of interaction for the user, so I will add a button, and again, for the sake of discussion, we will simply leave the default name of button 1. And I want this button to allow or to cause the second form to be displayed. Now there are two general ways to display a form. One is referred to as modal and the other is modeless. Depending on what method you use, it will determine whether it's shown modally or modeless. So if I open the code window, and for the button 1, I will add the code to cause Form 2 to show. Now this is the modeless form or method to show Form 2 modeless, and a demonstration will explain the difference between modal and modeless. So now my project is running. I can click on the button, and here is my Form 2. As you can see, I can navigate to each form. This is modeless in that the user is free to bounce from one form to the next. Each of the two forms can become the active form. I'll stop the program and then change the line of code to show dialog. Show dialog will cause the form to be shown in a modal fashion, which means that the project is running. I click button 1. I can still move the form around, but I can't click without responding to the form. I can't click back to the main form, that is. I am trying to, and it's not letting me. So I can't move the main form because I can't activate it. Now obviously there's nothing on the second form for the user to interact with, so their only choice is to close the form. And we'll stop the project and make some further modifications. So to give us some maximum freedom, I'm going to change this back to simply show, which will allow it to be shown in a modeless fashion. Now if I go back to my Form 2, I will add a button on this form to give this some degree of functionality. Now once the user is directed to this form, Form 2 that is, they will be able to click on this button, and I simply want this button to cause the form to hide. Hide is the method which will cause the form to simply disappear. So now if I run the program, once again my main form is displayed. I click button 1. I'm now at Form 2. I can click the button on the form, and as you can see, Form 2 disappears. In essence, it has hidden. An alternative to hiding could be to close the form, which we've used in other programs, me.close. Of course, remember, me simply refers to the currently active form. So again, if I run this program and I cause Form 2 to appear, and now it appears to behave in much the same manner. The difference is that the close is closing that form, and any variables or any data that was associated with that form are now unavailable to the program, where the hide will simply make it disappear from the project, but it still resides in memory. So you want to take care when you have multiple forms in your project, particularly more than just two, such as my demonstration here, and if a form should be taken out of memory, in other words, it has served its purpose, you should close it so that it's not retaining memory space and slowing your project down potentially. On the other hand, if you do want to have access to the data on that form, then me.hide is most likely the options you want to choose. Now, while I'm at Form 2, notice I'm at Form 2, I'm going to change this to Form3.show. And as you notice, it of course gives me an error message saying that Form 3 is not declared. That's because I don't have Form 3 in my project yet. So I'll need to click on Project, add Windows Form, and add that form to the project. And as you can see, it's now there. So now if I go back to my button on Form 2, you can see the error indicator has gone away. So now I should be able to bounce from one window to the next to the next. So my project starts, Form 2, Form 3. So as you can see, I can make any one of these forms the active form because I have shown all of these in the modeless form. That is, the user has the ability to bounce from one window to the next. Of course, you can prevent this by changing the show to show dialog, and now you're forcing the user to respond to your window before you allow them to continue. So as you begin to develop multiple form projects, you want to take into account these various variables. That is, do I want to hide the form or close the form once I'm done with them? The other thing you want to recognize is that the order in which you've seen these forms displayed starts with the main form, that is the first form that was created in the project itself. After that, you could alter the order in which forms are displayed by simply altering the code. For example, if I go back to Form 1, and if I interact with this button, I could of course show Form 3 now as opposed to Form 2. So if I run the program, and now when I run this, you see that Form 3 is now being displayed. Of course, I don't have any interaction here, so I simply need to close the project.